excited about this conversation.
Let's get it started, Rob.
Good morning, Stanislav. How are you today?
Good morning. Good morning. It's a little bit chilly in the U.S. across all the states today. Florida is not affected as much, but still, it's a nice chilly morning. So, I'm pumped to get this stream out of the way. I'm happy to meet you and discuss the very important topics.
Yeah, I'm so great to collaborate. I've been seeing what you guys are doing and helping people, and it's wonderful. Thank you for everyone joining us. I'm here in Texas. Stanislav's team from Florida. So friends, let us know in the comments where you guys are joining from. Tell us your city, your state, your country. We'd love to see where our friends are tuning in from. So go ahead and leave us a comment where you're tuning in from. If we're new together, I'm Rob with Chai Coaching. And at Chai Coaching, we're all about helping you thrive and succeed in your cross-cultural journey. I actually lived and worked in India for 8 years. I've traveled all over the world, and now here in the US, we love helping international students come study, get visas, get jobs. And Stanislav, please introduce yourself to our audience today.
Sure. Thank you for this opportunity, Rob. My name is Stanislav Shamayev. I'm the leading and founder attorneys in Shamayev Business Law Corporation. That's my company. We have about 100 people working in 10 departments with only one goal and purpose: to get approvals for our clients in talent visas, national interest waiver visas, and business and investment visas. So I specialize in those areas, and for the almost 10 years of my practice, we got more than 2,500 approvals in the visas we specialize in, and we extend our operations to more than 50 countries in the world, and we have the very ambitious goal to bring 10,000 of people to the US by the year 2030. And
awesome.
We are getting close to this goal, but of course we need to speed up because it's very ambitious. And the chances of approval for all the visas that we're going to be discussing today when working with my company, with my team, is above 90% for all the visas.
Wonderful. That's very encouraging to hear. I know you guys are doing a special offer for the viewers today too, some sort of review. Do you want to mention that before we get started?
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to mention it right now. And also we're going to be repeating it throughout the stream because I believe it's very important and it's a huge opportunity for your followers, Rob, to understand if they have the potential in the case, if they qualify for the visas. And you guys can get a free evaluation right now if you DM me one word: talent. Okay, so you guys send me a message, one word: talent, and I will guide you through the process of getting the initial analysis of your case and let you know which visa is good, which criteria we satisfy, and whether we have potential in the case to get it approved within the next 6 months with a chance above 90%.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Let's get started. Our focus today is talent visas. So Stanislav, please tell us, what are the different types of talent visas that exist and what are some of the key criteria for them?
Sure. That's a very large question. So because we're limited with time, I'll try to be kind of concise with the general idea. So my task today is not have a deep dive for each visa, but more to give understanding of what's going on and whether there's a chance to qualify for one of those visas. So we mainly going to be discussing 3 visas today, and they are split in 2 categories: the classic talent visas, which are O1 and EB1A, and another talent visa in my book, which is EB2 NIW, the National Interest Waiver. And I know it's not talent visa in the immigration book, but if you actually analyze it, you'll see that you have to have some type of talent to get that thing done. So the first category is the classic talent visas. And before I even begin, Rob, and I want you to understand, and people who are listening to us actively today, is that if you read the website of USCIS, it says that, you know, you have to have the Oscar or Nobel Prize or some craziness like Grammy. In my career, I filed hundreds upon hundreds and hundreds of those cases. I've never had a single Nobel Prize winner. Rob, do you have anyone? Send them my way, because I've never seen them. So my main idea and mantra behind all those visas is as follows. Any good professional in the field may get those visas approved. Okay, so that's a very important notion to understand, because everybody is scared to even try for those visas, and this shouldn't be like that. All right, so talent visas, O1 and EB1A, they're the same talent visa. The difference is O1 is non-immigrant visa. It's easier to get approved. It gives you the right to live and work in the US for at least 3 years, and then extend it indefinitely in case we need to. EB1A is also a talent visa. This one, of course, harder to get approved, but it gives you the green card. And the green card for you, for your family, for your spouse, and kids below 21 years old. All right, so this is the biggest difference between these two visas. Now, how do we measure the talent? Because Rob, for me, you're a talented person, but someone is gonna tell, like, no, I don't think that's it. It's very subjective, right? Like, you have to have something, some metrics to analyze whether you're talented or not. So that measure of the talent, those metrics is the criteria, right? We have, and for different visas, we have O1A, O1B, EB1A, 6, 8, 10 criteria. But because we're short on time, I'm going to discuss the 8 criteria that's going to be good for any of those visas mentioned. So we have 8, we need to satisfy just 3, okay? As long as we satisfy 3 criteria, we're going to be approved. So those criteria are awards, judging the work of other professionals, press articles about us, about our project and our achievements, professional associations, original and significant contribution in the field, critical or leading role in a company with distinguished reputation, academic articles or publications, and the last one, the 8th one, is the commercial success. Okay, so we have those 8 criteria, which I've never seen anyone met in the beginning of the case. Okay, as long as we have 2, 3, maybe sometimes 4 criteria in the beginning of the case, we can improve that petition throughout 6 months of working with my team. And most importantly, with PR agencies and vendors that help our clients, mostly with academic articles and the press. And those are very important criteria. And they always come on top of everything we already have in our career. All right. So these are the 8 criteria. We need 3. The more we get, the better. Okay.
Great.
For O1, I want to have 5 criteria. For EB1A, I want to have 6 criteria. All right. And that's when we can get you to really high chances of approval.
Okay.
All right. So these are the talent visas. And the last thing I want to mention about the classic talent visas is that the category of the talent. All right. We have 5 categories: business, sport, education, science, and art. Okay. And everything in between. And Rob, you know that because you're working with students, there are like contemporary professions, contemporary occupations that have no name.
Yeah.
Right. It's like between like business and IT, education and science. So there's no name. So if you guys don't have the name for your profession, don't worry. Okay, this is not a problem. The main thing is to get achievement and recognition in your field. Let me give you the examples of unusual talents, because if you're an IT person, if you're an engineer, if you're a doctor, if you're architect, if you're a designer, or whatever profession that is, I will get you approved. Okay, no problem. But if you are, for example, a car mechanic, I just got the fresh approval for that. Nobody would imagine that, right? Mm. If you are from sport, like I just got the gun shooting lady from Estonia, we got her in. We got the recent approval for basketball coach, right? So this is the athlete category. We get, and I forgot the English equivalent. It's like a person who organizes the space within your house.
Interior design?
Not that, because design is about more furniture and stuff and how it looks, but she's more about the efficiency of the space, right? So this is really weird, like really hard to explain to the immigration officer. We got the recent approval for corporate secretary, right? And the person for corporate pitches and presentations. Those are two separate talents. I also have a recent nice approval for the wedding organizer.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so the area doesn't really matter as long as you have the achievements. So those are the talent visas, guys. And remember, to know your chances and the potential, DM me one word: talent. Okay, talent. Now let's discuss EB2 and IW. And again, this is very short presentation just because we're limited with time, but my task is to get the common understanding. So EB2 and IW is the second type of talent visas, which has 3 criteria. And I know someone is just like, no, Stanislav, it has 5. Maybe it has even more. But my purpose is to give you understanding, not give you the law, okay? So in my book, it's 3 criteria. Number 1, education or exceptional ability, all right? What it means, we need either or. First, bachelor's degree and 5 years of experience in that field, in that major, or master's degree with no experience needed. And third, alternatively, if we do not have education or enough education, we still may satisfy this criteria by meeting the criteria of exceptional ability. And talent visa is extraordinary ability. Exceptional ability is a little bit lower standard. So there are six points. We need to satisfy at least 3 of them. I'm not gonna count them. It's just it's too much. But if you don't have education, just know that there is a way to get you in still. Criteria number 1. Criteria number 2 is the endeavor in the national interest of the US government. And more exact is the idea of the endeavor. Or I like to say a project, because Lord knows what endeavor means, right? Project is more like you can almost feel it. Like what you're gonna do, which area you're gonna be applying yourself, that is in the national interest of the US government. Now, the question is, Stanislav, what is the national interest? Because again, for Europe, it's one thing, using like an American, living in America. I'm an American too, right? I consider myself American, but for different people, it's a different thing. So how do we measure the national interest? So it has 2 sub-criteria. Number 1, substantial merit. And like, what the hell that means? Nobody knows. So substantial merit is actually, there is a problem to which we're offering the solution through our project. Okay, the first part of national interest. And this one is never a problem. We always have substantial merit to something. But number two is the sub-criterion based on which in the industry there are like 90% denial based on this small but very important thing. And the second part of the national interest is the national importance. What does it actually mean? That means it must be important for the US government to get the resolution of this problem. Okay, so that's what the national interest is. And the third one, the third criterion is we must be well positioned. We must be well positioned to implement this idea of the project, of the endeavor. And how do we prove it? We need to look in the past. What's the education? What are the licenses? How much experience? Where we worked? What kind of project we did in the past? Are we speaking at the conferences? Do we have publications? So everything that puts us in the position to implement the project in the future. Okay, so education, the project in the national interest of the US, and that we're well positioned to implement that project. Now, the last thing about EB2 and IW is a logical question. Stanislav, where do I get the idea of the project, right? I may be an engineer or IT person, cybersecurity, blockchain, maybe a businessman with startups, innovator, whatever that is. I'm busy, I'm doing my things. What can I offer to the US government? And guys, listen attentively. No one will ever explain it to you better than this. Just close your eyes, inhale, exhale, and ask you one question. Who am I in this world? I'm just kidding. That's the important question to ask. But the real question, what did I do today in the morning? What kind of problems I've been resolving for the past 5 years? What kind of projects did I work for, and what's the most important in my work for those projects? So once you guys find the answer to this question, and maybe even the first one, you know, it's important to know who you are in this world, you can then see if there is this problem in the US. And I guarantee 95% that there is the similar problem here. Okay, so that is your endeavor. And as long as we can see the importance for the US government, and how can we see that? We need to look at the policies of the White House, of the current administration, and we're changing the administration to Trump. And by the way, I know it's one of the questions, but I want to mention it right now. Guys, do not be scared of Trump, okay? Yes, things are going to change, but believe me, for legal immigrants like you, things are going to blossom. And by the way, I don't know, Rob, if you saw it yesterday, Elon Musk tweeted actually about immigration. And he said, guys, this thing is screwed up for legal immigrants. For legal immigrants. We know for sure for illegal, it's definitely screwed up. But first time he mentioned about legal immigrants, like people who are listening to us right now, right? So he said, this thing is long and difficult for legal immigrants, and that needs to be changed.
Hopefully so.
This is great news.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what Trump administration bringing to us, the optimization of the process for those who want to come legally to the US. And this is great.
Awesome.
Okay. All right.
So Stanislav, you talked about the different types, the criteria. You mentioned that, you know, you don't have to be celebrity or Nobel Prize winner. So many people qualify. So let's talk about the length of the process. What can people expect? How long can it take to get these kind of talent visas?
Yeah, great question. So each one of these visas has its own things, right? And I want to emphasize that the visas that start with two letters, E, B, employment based, those are the immigrant visas, meaning that those visas give us green cards. And then the way to get the US citizenship in 5 years. So the length of time to obtain O1 visa, and we have three, O1, EB1A, EB2, and IW. So for O1, EB1A, and EB2 and IW, the length of working on the case, improving it, building the evidentiary base, and describing it is for all of them 6 months.
Okay.
So from today until the time when I'm filing the case, it's 6 months going to pass. Now, what happens after the approval? For O1, about 2 months for the embassy to get the visa stamped in the passport. For EB1A, it's about 9 months for the interview in the embassy because it's an immigrant visa. There's a different process. And for EB2 and IW, it's about 2 years to get the interview in the embassy because there is a backlog. And I saw the balloons. This is no good news to get the 2 years wait, right? So I don't know what's the celebration, but that's a little bit too long for me. So the total is 8 months for O1.
Okay.
About a year and 3, I would say a year and a half for EB1A, and about 2.5 years for EB2 and IW, provided that we are applying from outside of the US.
Okay.
If we are in the US, it's still 6 months to get things done on the paper and file the case, but to change or adjust the status, it's immediately for O1. So once we file for the change of status, it's immediate, effective. We can start working right now. For EB1A, about 6 months to get the green card. For EB2 and IW, pretty much the same, 2 years. So we got to be legal in the US waiting for our green card availability.
So some of these require some planning ahead and just don't give the instant results. So you have to think ahead months, even years, not when it's last minute when you're in trouble.
Absolutely. And after the free evaluation, that service that we have in the company, which could be done by DMing me talent, right? The word talent to me, so I could help you to get evaluation, the free evaluation. Once I give you the potential, if I see the potential in the case, then I invite to the complex immigration planning, like you said, Rob, right? Where we plan the whole thing from today up to the citizenship, and also the result of it is a written strategy. Very important document.
Great. Well, I know we just talked about green cards and citizenship path. Yash asked a good question. What is the difference between green card and US citizenship? Could you clarify that real quick?
Absolutely. So the green card is basically a residency. It allows you to live in US without limitation and work wherever you want to work and travel, right? So that's what you get with the green card. With a citizenship, first, the biggest difference between the green card and citizenship, because citizenship allows you to do all those things as well. First, you may vote on the federal level for president, for Senate, for Congress, for all those things. And you get pretty much free pass to any country in the world.
The US passport.
So you don't have to think about visa or those things, going to Europe, to South America, to Africa, to Asia. Some countries, of course, still have the requirements, like Russia. You know, if you want to go to Russia, I wouldn't advise to go right now, but once this government is gone, it's a beautiful country to visit, still need a visa, right? So, but that's an exception.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying. That was a good question, Yash. Next thing we want to talk about is, what are some tips for people to kind of get their immigration journey started, and how can they maximize those chances for success? So people who are maybe just thinking how can
Right.
they get started?
All right. So the main two tips. One is more practical, one is more philosophical, I would say. So if you guys want to come to the US, and of course, we covered 3 visas, but there are a lot of them, right?
So many.
First thing, so many. First thing, educate yourself. Spend your time doing research. And most importantly, research the licensed attorneys, right? Because there's a lot of like so-called paralegals, immigration consultants. Those things are trash, And I'm a respectful person, but without license, there's no legal advice, right?
Yeah.
So you guys need to find the licensed attorneys like myself, and learn from those people. That's number one. The second thing, to prepare for the future move, and guys, trust me on that. It's easy. Learn the language. Guys, you wouldn't believe that people who think that they will learn English once they come to the States, never happen. Okay? Rare event when you actually learn the language. So prepare yourself, so that will open the opportunities for you. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with your ethnic group. You're going to be screwed many times, and you will have limited options. Okay? And most importantly, once you know the direction how to get to the US in your mind, like today we covered 3 visas. With those 3 visas and some others, you can always get the free evaluation from me. And this is no harm win-win service that we developed special for you.
That's great. That's great. Anything, once people get that journey started, you mentioned, planning, language, getting right representation. What can they do during the process, especially trying to meet those key criteria to maximize their chances for success?
2 things, 2 large things. Number 1, commitment. I need you guys to commit for the next 5 months working with my team. We love our clients. I love my clients. I love the cases. I get this gratifying feeling when I get the approval for my cases, because I know I'm changing the lives for generations ahead, right?
Yeah.
So I love my job because I can change those lives and get a ticket in the best world. So, but I want the commitment from the other side, right? We need to commit to what we gotta do. That's number 1.
It's hard work.
It's not going to be a stroll in the park, guys. It's going to be a lot of work, but we know what we're working for.
Yes.
And number 2, deadlines. Guys, I'm not among those attorneys whom you email in 2 weeks, nobody responding. We are streaming our cases live, okay? Which means it's everyday work on the deadlines. So if you cannot follow the instructions, if you cannot commit, if you cannot satisfy the deadlines, we're not for you.
That's good clarification. Yeah, because these talent visas, they're special, and those who work hard, those who are disciplined, those who can hit the deadlines have very good chances. But if you're distracted, don't have the bandwidth, then it's definitely not going to be a guarantee. So you don't want to get too hopeful if you're not willing to commit. So I appreciate you sharing that. Stanislav, you mentioned earlier, people don't need to freak out about Donald Trump. We know he's really cracking down on the illegal immigration, the border. Our U.S. immigration law is very old, many from the 1990s, potentially some overhaul. But what are some potential changes starting next year that people can expect, can prepare for, and make sure they're not surprised by?
We expect a lot of changes in the immigration system overall through executive orders, policy change, and maybe even new laws. I have a new video on my YouTube where I put a lot of effort in explaining in details what exactly going to be happen. But today I want to touch on one very important thing. If you guys understand this, you're going to feel that zen and that calm when you start working on your cases. And this thing is that Trump has two main agenda in his policies. And those agenda are, number one, whether your immigrant visa is merit-based or not. In other words, do you deserve to come here in the US, right? And number two, whether your type of visa is taking a job of an American. And the two visas, the two main visas that we describe today with you, Rob, EB1A and EB2 NIW, these are the only two visas in the whole immigration world to the US that not only do not contradict to these two policies, but actually satisfy them. Why? Because they're both merit-based. We are either highly educated with experience and proposing something to bring better things to the US, or we so recognize and achieve so many things that by being here, we're going to benefit the US. That's number one. And number two, because of those two things, we are not taking any American job and likely are going to create those jobs. So these two programs, guys, they're gonna blossom. And now is the balloons. Now the balloons are good, right? They're gonna blossom while Trump is gonna be in the office.
So those are the ones to really focus on, set your goals for, and hopefully, we'll see lots of approvals for those. We've got some great questions here. So thank you guys for waiting. I'm going to pull some of these up here. Let's see. Ishan is asking, for a final year PhD research student, having a couple of articles in state press and a couple of research publications and volunteer experience, is an EB2 NIW suggested. So they've got some articles in state press, research publications, and volunteer experience so far, and they're in final year PhD, and asking about EB2 NIW.
Right, very good question. So before I answer the exact question, my general thoughts on PhD, and I also have a separate video on my YouTube channel about PhD students.
Okay.
Guys, when I hear PhD, for me, it's automatically a green card. Okay? All PhDs that work with me, 100% approval rate for green card. Is it going to be EB2 NIW or EB1A? Depends on particular case. I prefer EB1A. I prefer EB1A for a PhD because same thing that were mentioned, the publications and articles, we're going to have the dissertation, right? There is no PhD without dissertation. We have the work probably in university or lab, some other experience. So all those things, they satisfy those criteria, the criteria that we discussed. So I like EB1A for PhD. I got them all approved, but I also had EB2 and NIW cases. They also got approval. It's just the wait time. That's what bothers me because I want to integrate my clients in the US as soon as possible with the green card. And by the way, that's why we created the exclusive business club based on the approvals for our clients. We have more than 200 people in my business club, and all of them got approved with our company. So that's the community we build around our company, and it's super international. And they're only the best people, right? The talent, the investors, the businesses, people find the partners, investments. So we help our clients to be integrated to the US by means of that club as well.
Sounds good. All right, next question we have here is what's the best time for H-1B people to start the perm process for filing I-140? And how many months or years will it take to get approved for an I-140? I don't know what I-140 is, so maybe you can explain what that means as well.
Sure. I-140, it's the immigrant petition that's filed when we deal with EB-1A, EB-2, EB-3, and EB-4.
Okay.
So those immigrant visas. That's the actual paper that we file with the government.
Okay.
Of course, it's a little piece of the petition. There's much more to this. The best time, guys, right now, yesterday, because you don't have to get H-1B to start your process with the labor certification, right? They're not connected whatsoever. The only maybe obstacle that your employer wants you to start actually working so they could start the perm process. So the short answer is as soon as possible, as soon as they can, because the faster they start, the faster you get the documents. Now, how fast can we transition from H-1B to EB-2 or EB-3? They're both available for the employers. That will depend on a bunch of factors. Number one, how fast they started the process. Did we have an audit from Department of Labor? Did we do everything in time going through the process? Because you can just idle and do nothing, and then time is ticking. So how fast the attorneys work on the case. Then which country we are from, because if we India born, EB2, EB3 is not for us. Okay, they only good with combination with EB1A, and by the way, that's what we do for our Indian clients who on H1B with EB2 or EB3 approved. We get this priority date earlier, and then we get them EB1A and substitute the priority date, so they get the green cards very fast. But with all things equal, and you're not India, China, Philippines, or Mexico born, EB2 is probably about 2.5 years.
Okay.
EB3, 3.5, 4.5 years.
Okay. So definitely still some wait time. All right. We got another question here. What role does a lawyer and supervisor play in the process of filing for visa and getting it through?
Very good question. And I guess any attorney will have a different answer to this. But because I built my company from 0 to 100 people working on my project, I do believe that the role of the attorney within our processes, there are 3 roles. Number 1, to develop the strategy of the case. Number 2, be at the 4th level of the review of the final papers in the case, because that means that 3 other people checked that document before me, right? So I want to say it's good, attach it to the case, or if I don't like it, I send it back. And number 3, most importantly, is to draft the memorandum at the end of the case. And memorandum is the legal argument based on my strategy and evidentiary base that we collected for the previous 5 months to get the approval for the case. And that document could be about 150 pages. It's huge, right?
Wow.
So those are 3 my main things within the case. But the team that leads the case Oh, they have a lot of functions, you know, providing the PR agencies, the contacts of vendors who's going to draft a business plan if it's needed, to help with the registration of the company, with corporate work, with commenting on the documents, recommendation to change, to review them. So they have the whole bunch, communication with the client. So we have a separation of the processes and responsibilities within the case. And I believe that's the main secret why we are at the top of this field, getting those approvals right and left. And we're really proud of that.
Great. Thanks for clarifying that. Let's see here. Got some good questions. All right. Nikhil is asking, how many research articles would you recommend one should have in their portfolio? And does working as a reviewer count?
I would suggest 4 and 4 for the purpose of EB1A, for the purpose of EB2 and IW, depending on the endeavor. If we don't have the endeavor as continuing research, because that's very narrow, then we need to have a lot of publications, right? But if it's just to support our well-positioned, I would suggest 2 publications.
Okay, great. Okay, another kind of fun PhD one. RuPaul is in her final year of PhD and the process of completing her paper. Should they start the process of a talent visa?
Yes.
They have a publication from India and currently finishing their paper on PhD. And part 2 is, are citations very important to satisfy the publication criteria?
So 2 questions, should they start, and the citations for the publications. At the very least, this particular person should DM me for the free evaluation, right? Because I need to see more things, what's going on with the case. But from what I heard, this is a great time to start, because we definitely have the base and we need to build on it. Okay, so the answer to this question is yes, to start as soon as possible, most likely. Number 2, citations. Very popular question. How many citations, Stanislav, do I need for the academic publications? Guys, no citations needed to satisfy this criteria.
Okay.
If you have them, good, I'll take them. If you don't have them, no problem. The real question is, if we have a lot of citations for particular publication, how much is a lot? Well, at least above 30, okay? If we have above 30, better 100, okay? So those are a lot of citations. Can we use that publication as the contribution in the industry in a different criterion? And the answer is yes, absolutely. So no citations needed. If we have them, great. But if we have a lot, we can use that publication in a different criterion.
Okay, great. Let's see, one more quick one here. Kiran is asking, what are the possibilities of maybe getting an H-1B visa approved for students with jobs in the semiconductor industry? Any thoughts or knowledge on that one?
Okay, so this question exists because this person, and I say it with no disrespect, just neutrally, this person does not really understand what H-1B is. Yes, there is a list of professions or education that will work for H-1B, but all STEM educations are going to be good for H-1B, and you, Rob, know it probably better than I do. But the real question is, am I going to be selected for H-1B lottery in March of the following year?
But it's a lottery.
It's a lottery. Yeah. So I think it's about 15% chance, maybe a little bit more if you have master's degree. And that's the real question. If we get selected, that's pretty much end of the story. Everything else is a technical thing. You just need to do the certain steps to get that thing through. So that occupation is going to be approved, but we need to be selected.
Yeah. More important is finding a company that is willing to sponsor for you.
Exactly.
And sponsor for the lottery.
And for that, we need an employer. Yes,
yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Stanislav, I know that we've covered a lot today. If you guys joined later, this will be posted so you can rewatch the beginning part where we did a deep dive on the talent visas, the criteria, the length, all this great stuff. But you guys are doing a special offer for those who are viewing. So again, remind us, Stanislav, how can they get a special review from you guys and maybe see where they are in their potential help?
Absolutely. So to get a special review, because you guys follow Rob, and that's what we respect, we need to send me a direct message with one word: talent. Send me that word, and I will guide you through the process how to get that free evaluation. You will fill out the form. Within 2 next days, I will find the time to analyze it and get back to you with initial analysis in writing: which visa is good, which visa is better, which criteria we met, which we can work on, and most importantly, look for the phrase "if you have the potential" in the case. If you see that phrase somewhere in that message, that means that your case is ripe to go for the second step.
Yeah, so send a DM to Shemaev Business Law. They'll be tagged in this post as well, and send them talent, and then that'll give you the chance to fill the form, get the review, and see what kind of talent visas you might qualify for. So this is a great service, a great next step based on what we shared. And Stanislav, thank you for hanging out. I know people are excited and nervous about immigration this next year, and I know this is going to help lots of people in our community. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob, for your time. I appreciate it, and have a good day.
Everyone, thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Cheers, everybody.